Have you ever felt your life is total chaos, as if everything was crumbling at the same time? What if I told you that this chaos is not a sign of failure, but an indication that you are about to undergo a deep transformation? According to Carl Jung, before any major change, life pushes us into a state of internal and external disorder. But why does this happen? The truth is that nothing transforms without first being deconstructed, and this process can be painful. You start to question everything: your choices, your relationships, your career, your purpose. It seems that the things that once made sense begin to dispose of before their eyes. You feel you are losing control, that everything is moving away from you. But what if, in fact, is that a sign that you are exactly on the right track? Carl Jung explained that chaos arises when our unconscious mind realizes that we can no longer continue living the same way. It's as if a part of you already knew you need to change, but another part still resisted, clinging to the old man. And it is in this internal conflict that chaos manifests itself. But what few people understand is that this chaos is the first stage of transformation. Jung called this process of individuation, the moment when we are forced to look inside, face our shadows, and leave behind everything that no longer makes sense. And this is the crucial point. Chaos is not here to destroy you, but to rebuild you. Now stop and think. What in your life is coming out of control now? Isn't this a sign that something much bigger is about to happen? If this message is making sense to you, continue with me, because in the next part of this video, I will show you why chaos is a requirement for transformation and how you can use it to your advantage to speed up your growth. What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you see this moment of your life. But before we continue, I want to know about you. Have you been through a moment of chaos that in the end led you to a great transformation? Something that looked like the end but turned out to be a fresh start? If so, share your experience in the comments. Right here, I trust the process. Not only will this help you strengthen this new perspective, but you can inspire other people who are going through this phase now. And if this message is resonating with you, leave your like right now. This may seem like a simple gesture, but it is extremely powerful. When you enjoy this video, YouTube understands that this content is relevant and starts showing it to more people who also need to hear this message. Thus, together we can spread this knowledge and help more people understand that chaos is not the end, but the beginning of transformation. And if you are not already subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button now and activate the notification bell. Here we talk about self-knowledge, expansion of consciousness, deep psychology, and inner transformation. If this video came to you, it was no coincidence. And the next content will help you even more to navigate this process clearly and confidence. Now let's go straight to what really matters. How do chaos prepares you for transformation? And how can you enjoy this phase to evolve instead of resisting? What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you view the challenges of your life. Chaos is uncomfortable. When everything around us begins to crumble, the first reaction is fear. We feel insecure without direction, as if life is testing us in every way possible. The plans that looked right begin to fail. Some people move away, opportunities disappear, and suddenly, nothing seems to make sense. Have you been through this? This is the moment when many people come into crisis. They feel that they are losing control of their own lives, that everything that has built so far is ruining, and this generates anguish, frustration, and in some cases, even a feeling of defeat. What was once familiar now seems strange. Which once brought security now generates doubts. Worse, the mind begins to question if there is any way out of all this. But what few people understand is that chaos does not always mean destruction. Often, it is the preparation for a deep transformation. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, studied this process and realized that before any major change, the human psyche enters a state of disorder, where the old belief system no longer works, but the new has not completely emerged. This explains why, before an awakening, life seems to put us in situations that force us to look inside, question who we are, and reassess the path we are walking. The problem is that, at this moment, many people believe that the LGO is wrong with them, which are failing, when they are actually only being prepared for a new level of consciousness. If you feel you are living this phase now, pay attention. This is not a punishment. That doesn't mean you are lost. On the contrary, this may be the clearest sign that you are undergoing a process of real transformation, where your mind and your life need to reorganize to a new cycle. And that's exactly why so many people report that their biggest changes happened right after the most difficult times they have ever lived. The relationship that was over, the job that was lost, the unexpected change that looked like a problem. At first it seemed the end, but then, looking back, it was clear that it was the beginning of something much bigger. But why does this happen? What is the true role of chaos in our evolution? And how can we use this moment in our favor instead of fighting it? If this message is making sense to you, continue with me, because in the next stretch of this video, I will show you why chaos is a requirement for transformation and how you can cross this phase with more clarity and purpose. What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you see the challenges of your life. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, dedicated his life to the study of the human psyche, plunging into the depths of the unconscious to understand the processes that shape our identity, and especially the moments of transformation that mark our lives. For him, the human being is not born ready, he becomes. And this process of becoming who we really are inevitably undergoes internal and external crises, chaos, and collapses. Jung called this process of individuation, the individual's journey to find his true essence, to break free from social masks and external influences, and finally integrate all parts of his personality into a complete and authentic being. But this journey is not linear. It is not simple, and above all, it is not painless. For a new identity to emerge, the old one needs to crumble. And it is at this moment that chaos manifests itself. Before any awakening, there is a period of confusion, destruction of old beliefs, deep questions. It is as if the mind realized that the reality you have built so far no longer serves, but at the same time, you still don't know exactly what to put in place. This is the moment of transition, where everything seems out of control, where insecurity dominates, and where many people feel they are getting lost, but in fact they are meeting. And Jung understood this by studying the myths, dreams, and stories that were repeated throughout humanity. The greatest heroes have always undergone chaos before, achieving the great transformation. In mythology, this moment is known as the hero's journey. Think about the great characters of history and fiction. All of them, before becoming who they really should be, went through a phase of destruction, loss, and disorientation. Moses had to wander the desert. Buddha abandoned all the wealth and comfort to face darkness within him. Jesus went to the desert to face his temptations before he began his ministry. In fiction, Neo, in Matrix, had to give up the illusion in which he lived and face a new reality, brutally different. Harry Potter, before becoming the wizard who would defeat Voldemort, lost his parents and had to face loneliness and rejection. This pattern repeats itself because it is a universal archetype. He is rooted in the collective unconscious, a concept developed by Jung to explain that all people carry within themselves symbols, patterns, and narratives that shape the way we live and see the world. The chaos you feel now is not a mistake. It is not a punishment. It is just a sign that you are going through one of these moments of transition where your mind and soul are being shaped to a new phase of your life. And that's exactly why so many people feel existential crises at certain times in life. There comes a point where what made sense before no longer does. The work that seemed stable now seems suffocating. The relationship that seemed safe now no longer resonates with who you are becoming. The routine that once brought comfort now seems empty. This does not mean that something is wrong with you. It means that your psyche is trying to push you to the next level. Jung stated that for a real transformation to happen, it is necessary to contact inner chaos. He called it confrontation with the shadow, the moment when we are forced to face our repressed parts, our traumas, our deepest truths. Often this shadow appears unexpectedly, in anxiety crises, abrupt changes in life, in losses that seem inexplicable. But deep down, these experiences, they are revealing us parts of us who need to be integrated so that we can evolve. The big question is that most people fight this process. They resist, try to cling to the past, deny the signs, escape the inevitable changes. But the more we resist chaos, the more it grows. This is why many people enter deep states of suffering, not because chaos itself is bad, but because resistance to chaos creates even more pain. What Jung teaches us is that instead of fighting this process, we need to accept it and cross it with conscience. Because when we accept chaos as part of the journey, it is no longer an enemy and becomes a guide. Now stop for a moment and think, what in your life is coming out of control now? Is this not a sign that something bigger is about to happen? Could you, instead of resisting, could you start seeing this phase as a growth opportunity? If this message is making sense to you, continue with me, because in the next stretch of this video, I will show you why chaos is a requirement for transformation and how you can cross this phase with more clarity and purpose. What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you see the challenges of your life. Chaos is an inevitable stage of transformation. According to Jung, before any major change, we need to go through a period of deconstruction, a moment where everything that once made sense begins to collapse, leaving a void that can be scary. But what many people don't realize is that this chaos is not a mistake, but a necessity. It is not happening to destroy you, but to make room for something new to appear. If you are going through a period of uncertainty, feeling that your life is undoing, it can be difficult to see it clearly. Fear takes over, anxiety intensifies, and it seems that you are being dragged by a storm without control. But Jung teaches us that this moment of chaos is the transition point between who you were and who you are becoming. Think of an old house that needs to be renovated. Before it can be rebuilt, it is necessary to demolish the structures that no longer support the weight of time. Some walls need to fall, the floor needs to be replaced, the roof may need adjustments. During this phase, the house looks worse than before, full of rubble, dust, materials scattered. But this temporary destruction is the only possible way for something better to be built in place. The same is true of our mind and our life. Everything that no longer serves begins to crumble, making room for reconstruction. But here is the key. Most people see this phase as the end, when, in fact, it's just the beginning. Jung said that the human being goes through a process called individuation, which is the journey to become who we really are. But for this to happen, we need to abandon the masks, conditioning, limiting beliefs, and illusions we create about ourselves. And this process is not comfortable. It requires us to get in touch with our shadows, our fears, and our deepest insecurities. This is why chaos arises. It comes to break what can no longer stand up. It comes to force the mind to open to new possibilities, to push you beyond your limits. The problem is that instead of accepting this phase as a natural part of growth, most people fight it. They cling to what is leaving, resist change, desperately try to hold on what no longer makes sense. And this resistance is what generates even more suffering. But when You understand that chaos is part of the process. Everything changes. You stop fighting him and start growing with him. Now stop for a moment and reflect. What in your life is crumbling now? Instead of seeing this as a problem, could you start seeing as a sign that something bigger is being prepared for you? If this message is making sense to you, continue with me, because in the next passage of this video, I will show you how to cross this chaos consciously, without fear, and how to accelerate this process to get out of the other side and more prepared for your new phase. What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you view the difficult times of your life. Have you noticed that before the biggest changes in your life, there has always been a period of instability? Think of the moments when you felt that everything was coming out of control. That job you lost without explanation, that relationship that ended unexpectedly, that phase in which everything seemed to go wrong. At the time, fear took over, uncertainty seemed unbearable, and you may feel that you were being thrown into a dead end. But now I walk back, isn't that exactly what needed to happen to get where you are today? Chaos always precedes transformation. It is a pattern that is repeated in the nature, history, and life of each of us. The greatest discoveries, the greatest achievements, and the greatest growths come after the moments of greater deconstruction. But when we are inside the whirlwind, we forget that. All we can see is the mess, the pain, the fear. We can't realize that what looks like a collapse now can be the beginning of something much bigger. Carl Jung said that what you resist persists. This means that the more we fight chaos, the more it grows within us. But what if, instead of resisting, could you see this moment as a necessary process, as a sign that your life is reorganizing for something better? Reflect for a moment. Look at the hardest moments of your life. What did you learn from them? What did they force you to see? What did they take from you who deep down made no longer sense? Often, life pushes us out of our comfort zone because alone we would not have the courage to leave. We cling to what is familiar even if it no longer does us well. We have created a false sense of security, and the fear of the unknown keeps us from growing up. But chaos does not accept stagnation. When life wants to transform you, it will take from you everything that no longer serves. It will move you away from people who are not aligned with your purpose. It will collapse structures that no longer support its evolution. It will put you in situations that force you to get out of sameness and face the truth of who you really are. And the most impressive, if you look around, you will see that this happens to everyone. Great leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, philosophers, all went through moments of great chaos before finding their true purpose. Steve Jobs was fired from the company itself before creating the most revolutionary products in the world. Oprah Winfrey was fired from television before becoming the most influential presenter in history. Nelson Mandela spent years in jail before turning her nation. Why do we think our journey should be different? Why do we believe that the path to transformation should be easy and quiet when history shows us that without chaos, there is no growth? Now, stop and think. What is crumbling in your life now? Does instead of seeing this as a problem, could you start seeing as a reconstruction process? What seems confusion today may be exactly what is taking you to a future you can't see yet. If this reflection made sense to you, continue with me, because in the next part of this video, I will show you how to turn this moment of chaos into a portal for your evolution, and how to align with this transformation without fear. What I will reveal you now can completely change the way you view the challenges you are facing. Think of a forest. For years, trees grow, leaves spread across the floor, branches intertwine, and everything seems stable, in perfect harmony. But then, suddenly, a fire happens. The flames take care of everything, destroying trees, burning the ground, leaving behind only ashes and a scenario of complete devastation. At first, it seems that the forest was completely destroyed. But what few people know is that some seeds can only germinate after fire. This is because the Heat of the fire activates the growth of new trees, breaks harsh peels that prevented the seeds from sprouting, and enriches the soil with nutrients that were previously stuck. The fire, which looked like a disaster, was actually the beginning of a renewal. Now, stop and reflect. Is your life not going through this process now? Isn't the chaos you are living in, is not the fire that needs to consume the old man to make room for the new? The problem is that when we are in the fire, all we can see is the flames. Fear takes over. We feel that we are losing everything, and the pain of transformation seems unbearable. But what if, instead of resisting, you would accept this fire as part of your rebirth process? What if, instead of seeing this moment as the end, would you begin to see it as the beginning of something bigger? Nature teaches us that everything has a cycle, and chaos is part of this cycle. No butterfly is born without first going through the complete destruction of the caterpillar inside the cocoon. No new version of ourselves arises without first dissolving the old version that no longer represents us. But the problem is that most people want transformation without going through the deconstruction process. They want the new without releasing the old man. They want to grow without giving up what no longer makes sense. But it doesn't work like that. If you want a new life, a new purpose must be willing to let what is no longer consumed by fire. Now I want you to stop and think. What in your life needs to be burned so that something new can grow? What old beliefs, what fears, what patterns are you still holding and that may be preventing your transformation? If this metaphor made sense to you, continue with me, because in the next stretch of this video, I will show you how to cross this fire without fear and how to use this moment of chaos as a real opportunity for growth. What I will reveal to you now can be exactly what you need to get stronger from this process and enter the best phase of your life. If you are going through this phase of chaos, uncertainty, and transformation, it is essential to understand that the way you deal with this process will define the quality of your new phase. Chaos does not come to destroy you, it comes to redo you. But to cross this moment with wisdom and speed up your evolution, you need practical tools to deal with this process without fear and resistance. The truth is that the way we react to chaos determines whether it will be just a period of suffering or a portal for a new reality. If you fight change, it becomes more painful. But if you open yourself to learn from this moment, growth becomes inevitable. Therefore, here are 3 essential steps to navigate this process with more awareness, less suffering, and more clarity. 1. Accept the change. Do not resist what is leaving. What no longer serves needs to leave. The biggest cause of human suffering is the resistance to what is inevitable. When something in our lives is crumbling, we desperately try to hold the pieces, even when we know deep down that it no longer serves us. We cling to jobs that do not make us happy, relationships that do not nourish us, identities that no longer represent who we really are. But reality is clear. Nothing that is essential to its evolution will be lost. Everything you need to leave, go. Everything you need to stay will remain. This means that the first step to cross this chaos is to stop fighting it. Instead of trying to control every detail, take a deep breath and accept that some things need to be deconstructed so that something new can arise. Accepting does not mean giving up. Accepting means recognizing that the flow of life always leads us where we need to be. Now ask yourself, what in my life I'm trying to hold back, but may you need to leave? What I am resisting to release, but what may be blocking my evolution? 2. Look inside. Meditate, write your emotions, question your beliefs. This is the moment of self-knowledge. External chaos is nothing more than a reflection of inner chaos. If your life seems to be crumbling, it may be a sign that your mind and soul are trying to show you something you don't want to see yet. This is why this moment is a powerful invitation to self-knowledge. Instead of distracting yourself, escape the temptation to escape this phase with superficial distractions. Use this period to look inside. And how can you do that? Meditate daily. Meditation helps you calm your mind and see the situation from a higher perspective. Even if at first it seems difficult, you just feel silent for a few minutes and look at your breath. Write about your emotions. Putting your feelings and thoughts on paper helps you organize them and understand patterns that you may not realize in everyday life. Ask your beliefs. Many times, chaos comes precisely because we are attached to ideas and worldviews that no longer make sense to those who are becoming. Ask yourself, what did I believe about life, myself, and my future that now no longer makes sense? Chaos always brings hidden lessons. If you allow yourself to listen, you can find answers that will completely change the way you see this moment. 3. Trust the process. Great transformations seem destruction at first. Keep faith in what is to come. This is the hardest step for many people. When everything around you seems to be crumbling, trusting that this is part of a larger plan can be challenging. But the truth is that no butterfly is born without first going through the full destruction of the caterpillar inside the cocoon. No forest renews itself without first being consumed by fire. No human being transforms without first going through the discomfort of the unknown. Great transformations always seem to destroy at first, but over time, when we look back, we realize that each loss was actually a realignment. Each obstacle was a necessary deviation for a better path. Every moment of chaos was an invitation to growth. Now take a deep breath and ask yourself, if I really believed how, and all this is happening for my good, how would I feel? How would I act? What would I choose to release? What would I be ready to hug? Chaos is fleeting, but the person you become after him is eternal. If this message has made sense to you, continue with me, because in the next stretch of this video, I will show you how to identify the signs that your transformation is approaching and how to accelerate this process to get out of the other side more than ever. What I will reveal to you now can be exactly what you need to cross this moment with confidence and clarity. When you understand that chaos is not a punishment, but a portal for a new self, everything changes. You stop resisting, stop fighting what seems to fall apart, and begins to use this phase as a trampoline for growth. At first, it can be difficult to see the purpose behind the confusion. The fear of the unknown makes us believe that we are being punished, that something went wrong, that we are losing control. But the truth is that chaos does not come to destroy you, it comes to rebuild you. Carl Jung said that what you resist persists. When we fight inevitable changes, we create even more suffering. But when we accept that each phase has a purpose, we make room for this transformation to happen more fluidly. And this is where true evolution begins. Now stop for a moment and reflect. What if instead of seeing this chaos as a problem, you start seeing it as a sign that your life is going through a renewal process? Because this is the reality. Nothing evolves without first undergoing a phase of deconstruction. If a caterpillar did not stop completely inside the cocoon, it would never become a butterfly. If a forest did not go through cycles of destruction and regeneration, it would never become stronger. And if you didn't go through this inner chaos, you would never wake up to your more authentic version. Now think about how your life could be different if you adopted this new mindset. Instead of feeling lost, you would start to feel in transition. Instead of resisting changes, you would learn to flow with them. Instead of clinging to what you're leaving, you would start preparing for what's coming. This means that from today, you have two options. 1, continue seeing this moment as a problem, as an obstacle, as something that came to knock you down. Or 2, choose To see this chaos as a transformation portal, as an opportunity for rebirth, as an invitation to become the best version of yourself. The choice is yours. You can cling to the old and keep feeling that you are being dragged by life, or you can make room for the new and allow this phase to take you to a higher level. And here is something important. This transformation does not happen outside. It happens inside you. The external world may seem chaotic, but it is the way you interpret and reacts to this chaos that defines what it really means. Now ask yourself, what if all that is happening in my life now, that exactly what I need to become the person I always wanted to be? What if, in the future, I look back and realize that this moment was the key to my greatest evolution? If this reflection made sense to you, continue with me, because in the next passage of this video, I will show you how to consolidate this new mindset, how to eliminate the internal blocks that prevent you from growing, and how to speed up your transformation so that you can live with more purpose and clarity. What I will reveal to you now can be the final step for you to get out of chaos and enter your most powerful phase. If life seems to be crumbling, trust. I know that at this moment it can be difficult to see a greater purpose in the middle of chaos. It may seem that everything you have built is ruining, that the floor is opening under your feet, and that you have no more control over anything. But what looks like a collapse now can be exactly what you need to rebuild yourself. Carl Jung teaches us that before any real transformation, it is necessary to go through a period of deconstruction. What no longer serves needs to leave. The old beliefs, the standards that limit you, the situations that no longer make sense. Everything needs to be dissolved so that something new can emerge. And this process, however painful as it may seem, is exactly what leads you to the next level. Now take a deep breath and ask yourself, what if instead of seeing this moment as an end, I started seeing it as a beginning? Chaos is not random. He is a messenger. It comes to show you that your life can no longer continue the same way, that you are ready for something larger, that needs to evolve, expand, grow. But growth never happens in comfort. The butterfly is born only after the caterpillar, this fully in the cocoon. The new version of you can only come after the old one is deconstructed. If you feel your life is a mess now, know that this is not a mistake, this is not a punishment, it is a process that in a while, when you look back, will realize that it made perfect sense. Think of past moments of your life. How many times have you thought something was the end, but then you realized it was the beginning of something much better? Maybe a job you have lost and led to you to an amazing opportunity, a relationship that is over that freed you to find a real love, a change that seemed forced but put you on the right track. Now look at the moment you are living. What if this phase is exactly what you need to get into the best version of your life? I want you to write this in the comments right now. I trust the process. This is not just a sentence, it is a commitment to yourself. It is a sign for the universe that you are ready to grow, to evolve, to become your best version. And if this message touched you, leave your like right now. This simple gesture can make this content reach more people who need to hear this truth. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button now and enable notifications. Here we talk about self-knowledge, expansion of consciousness and personal transformation. And upcoming videos can be exactly what you need to continue this journey. Now click on the video that is appearing on the screen and come find out what are the signs that your transformation is already happening, even if you still don't realize. See you there!